Hello everyone, it's Raza von Werder from the University of Mother God Church, aka they call me Kelly Everts, the lady who strips for God and dances to save men's souls. And this night, on this occasion, I am going to, this is the 19th of January 2019, and I have a few things. I already finished a series about the most wealthy men. They're all multimillionaires who wanted to marry me. I talked about them. One was Mickey Hargitay, the bodybuilder, movie star who was Mae West's lover and who became the husband of Jane Mansfield, and who is the father of, he's dead now, so was the father of Mariska Hargitay from Law and Order. He was a wonderful man, and he was quite well off. He owned the Pink Palace, he owned an apartment building, and he had other monies. I don't know exactly what he had, but he was very wealthy. Then there was M.B. Scott, Milton Bradley Scott, who approximately that same time, he was a multi-millionaire. He owned a big building, I think it was in boy, where was it, Beverly Hills, probably on one of the main streets, like, darn, I wish I could remember, was it Wilshire Boulevard or Sunset Boulevard, one of the main streets. And he owned his own building, and he had a mansion, and he had a Cornish Rolls Royce, and a butler, and original oil paintings all over his house, his luxurious, gorgeous house. He was sort of a playboy, but a nice playboy, not a creepy one, a real nice one, a real gentleman. So he was the second one, and then the third was Dr. Atkins, which I explained, the diet doctor, Dr. Atkins, but being that he was Jewish and I was Christian, I didn't want to change my religion to marry him, and I also didn't tell him I was celibate. I had promised my celibacy, so I could not marry a man unless he was willing to let me remain celibate. And eventually, many years down the line, when I did marry, I married Richard von Werder. That's why my name is von Werder. I married Richard, and we were together for 14 years as best friends and fiancés, but I wouldn't marry him. And then God appeared to me in a dream and tricked me into marrying Richard. But God knew that Richard would tolerate my celibacy. He was a saintly, angelic man. And he did. He never demanded sex. We were together for not quite 2 years when he died of a heart attack. All right, so, and he was well off as well. He wasn't a multi like these other guys. Like Dr. Atkins was probably good for 150 million or something. No, astronomical. And M.B. Scott was good for many millions. I don't know what Mickey Hargitay had. And then I had many other men who wanted to marry me, but they weren't famous, but they were well off. I met many men, businessmen, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, who were infatuated or in love, and all that, but they weren't famous, so I'm not going to get into, and I didn't even, I wasn't in love with them. So, but these guys I really liked them very much. So the other things I was considering talking about were, how does a person become a success? And what is the truth about the business modeling? And then, I don't think I'll get to that, but my first guru, Reverend Verna Talbot, she's going to be a tough one to talk about. It's a lot to cover there, so I don't think I'll get into that right now. Maybe I'm not emotionally ready to face that subject right now. But I might start talking about, let's see, which one? How does a person become successful in show business? How did I? In show business and in general, because I became successful in a path, in my own path, that was a path like no one else that I know of. It was an unusual path. I could have been a successful actress, glamour girl, like Jane Mansfield or Marilyn Monroe or something like that. I was a starlet. I started being a starlet and making B movies. And I have some of those movies, parts of them on my channel. And I had offers. I had many other offers, and I was hooked up with the William Morris agency. And I could have continued with them, especially if I dated the management. You know, the manager guys were always asking us young, you know, starlets that were in the agency to have sex with them. And if you refused, they wouldn't get you too many appointments for interviews for jobs in the movies. You know, if you had sex with them, if you cooperated with them, there's more of a chance. And so I was affiliated with several agencies. But let me begin at the beginning. Let me begin when I was 16 years old, just to give you an idea of how I got to California, what I went through, what it took. So now I ran away from home from, no, let me change that. Not ran away. I left my abusive mother, and I moved in with my father in order to finish school. And that was in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Now, my dad, I'm not going to get into my dad now. I'm going to get into, I went from the frying pan into the fire. My dad was a wonderful guy, but he wasn't warm and friendly like I remembered him, you know, when I was a kid and I was in love with him. He was so warm, so friendly, so affectionate. Now he was cold, and he became, again, like the sex police, you know, like they just want to monitor you, make absolutely sure you never have sex with anyone. That seems to be their obsession, parents. With my mother, too. My mother was chasing me all over town to find out where I was when the nights I didn't come home. And she found one of the guys I used to stay with overnight and threaten him and bullshit this and bullshit that. And you know, she should have been looking out for herself so that she wouldn't need her 8th abortion, you know what I mean? Mom, watch out for yourself, don't worry about me, you know, I'm trying to get out of the house and stay out of the house because of you. So what do you care if I have sex or not? Leave me the crap alone, Ma, you know? So then when I was with my dad, he seemed to be the same way. It's like if a boy walked me home, he was pissed at me because the boy's Italian. I'm always supposed to go out with Lithuanians? Give me a break. There's like 3 Lithuanians in New York City. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean? There was no choices. So we go to this Lithuanian gathering, and I meet a Lithuanian boy, and I considered dating him, and I said, what about him, Dad? He's got a red Corvette. He says, oh, he's just a parasite. His mother bought him that red Corvette. Oh, great. So, like, nobody qualifies. You know, nobody's good enough for me, Dad. And then later, when I got older, all these guys that were very unattractive, several of them I dated, but not because I wanted to have sex with them or marry them, just for friendship and show business reasons. And every guy that came to the house, almost, not every, oh, he's a fine man, oh, he's a fine man, oh, because I think he thought I was now older, better get me suited up, better get me yoked up with some guy, even though he's 20 years older than me, and he's ugly, and he's not well off. He just has a decent job in the government and something, and blah, blah, blah. And this guy is overweight, but Dad, oh, fine man, fine man. Now, well, I was in my late 20s, and I think he thought I was over the hill. My father, you know. So he thought anybody, at first nobody was good enough for me when I was 16, and now everyone was good enough for me almost. You see? And so it's, again, the mentality, I don't get it. I don't get their parental. I think parents are as crazy as their kids. Sometimes crazier. But anyway, what I start talk about show business. Okay, to be continued.